You know, a very interesting quote that Neville says that isn't often talked about is that he's basically stating an idea that is only an idea does nothing. It produces nothing. It must have within it some motor element. It must in some way, I'm quoting him, act within myself when I entertain the idea. So he says, you call me up or write me a letter and you make me make a request. He says, I can't read a letter and then drop it. If I'm going to do something, I must act upon it. The idea that I act upon must produce in me a motor element. The motor element may be picking up the telephone in my imagination, hearing your voice and you tell me, thank you, I have it, it's all done. Or it could be picking up another letter where now the next letter you tell me you have it. It could be meeting you in the flesh and embracing you. It could be, I'm adding this one now, that it could be shaking someone's hand and congratulations for whatever it is that you have accomplished. So he's saying that a motor element has to be present to some degree in the scene that you're imagining. Some part of you has to be acting in it, participating in it. As he gives the examples, picking up the telephone or, and you know, when it's worked for me, there was an element like that. It was usually me hearing someone say something, in the flesh, or I was hugging them, or I was, picking up the telephone, and it worked. But he says, you know, just a plain idea, it doesn't really work. For it to produce something in me, it must bring, for me to bring it to pass, it must produce a motor element in me. I must act in my imagination. That way I act in reality, which is similar to the ladder. You know, when you imagine yourself climbing a ladder, you're actually climbing it, that you may climb it in the world. So just something that you can test for yourself and you can add is this motor element. So in your imagination, next time you go to imagine something, some accomplishment or receiving something, try to add an element where you're picking up your phone and seeing a notification, and that would be in our time. Like we wouldn't pick up a newspaper, right? So you would want to pick up your phone, see a notification that implies some level of it being done in your world. Don't just imagine like receiving a text. Actually pick up your phone and participate in what it would be like if it happened. That's what he's saying. It has to have a motor element to it. And like I said, from my own experience, then when I look back, I do see that there was elements of there when it came to pass in a way that was identical to what I was imagining. There was an element where I participated in it. I didn't just think of it like a nice idea in my head. It was something I actively was involved in. Like I gave an example where I was picking up the phone and hearing good news for a friend, but then they would call me in my physical life telling me my physical ears were hearing the bad news. But when I would imagine hearing the good news, I would always pick up the phone. Like I'd see my phone vibrating. I would, slide my thumb across it and I would answer the phone. And I would lose myself in, usually I answer the phone. I ask people if they can hear me first because sometimes my phone is bad. So I answered it that way. I said, can you hear me? And they said, yes. And then they told me the good news. But I lose myself in it as if there's no difference between it happening externally to me, that my internal ears are listening to it. And it's just as if I'm hearing them with my physical ears. It's the same thing. And so what Neville's inviting us to do, he's inviting us to believe in our depths, which is to say to believe in ourselves, really. So you can separate it. I used to use inner and outer, but now I like to use depth and surface. So in my depths, it is done, and I believe in my depths. On the surface, what I've imagined is a fantasy, but in my depths, it's the only reality I'm experiencing. In my depths, I have done it, I have heard it, I've experienced it. But on this surface level, it seems that nothing has happened. On this outer level, on the surface level, everything appears separate from me. Yet when I go to my depths, everything is stemming from me, the dreamer. All my dreams are stemming from me. So what he's asking us to do is to go to our depths and rearrange our depths, that the surface may be rearranged also. And the way you rearrange the surface is to believe in what you're doing in your depths, to really believe in what you're imagining, to really hear the good news. That's how you believe it. You really participate, and you take the receptive attitude of mind, and you really hear your friend tell you good news. You really try to hear it as if you were to hear it physically. That's what you try to do. That's how to feel the reality of what you're doing. That's how you believe in it. You want to experience what you're imagining, not force yourself to believe it. You don't have to police yourself. You have to experience it. And he's saying a way to experience it, to add to the experience, is to add a motor element to it. Just try it next time. Just try it more often. Try to add these motor elements where you're participating in it. That's why he says, you don't just hear congratulations. Shake someone's hand. Participate in it. Feel the reality of what's being done. It's just something to test, I would say. Don't think of it that I have to have a motor element or else I'm going to fail. Just try it out as an experiment. Treat all of Neville's work as an experiment. It's an experiment of believing in your depths. Being convinced of what you're doing in your depths. People do this all the time, They just do it with fears. They act from the fears in their depths. But what he's asking us to do is to take control of our depths, rearrange them to where you participate, and you shall participate on the surface. That's what he's really calling us to do. That's why he says, I ask you to try it. Take the most fantastic thing in the world and to imagine it, to participate in it. And he says, if you have that inward conviction, you'll be inspired to act and you'll be inspired to go down that route. So that's how I see it. A lot of times, I've heard people use the words like 4D and 3D. I don't personally like using those words. I used to use higher or lower level or inward and outer, but I just prefer depths and surface. And the reason, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in a video once, but one time I was in a dream, I was sleeping, and I was aware that I was sleeping. And I was aware inside the dream that I was on my bed physically. But in my depths right now, I'm in this dream. And I knew that I was going to eventually wake up. And so what happened in the dream started to fade, and I found myself floating to the surface of my face. It's like I was leaving my depths, like almost just like I was in an ocean, and I was floating all the way up to the top, and I found myself right behind my eyeballs. It felt like I was deep, deep in myself, lost in a dream. And slowly I was floating up to the surface of myself, and I found myself experiencing the surface world. And that's why I changed the terms in my mind. I started changing it from inner to outer to depth and surface. I find it to be more, after that experience, it makes more sense to me. So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to believe in the depths of ourselves. Really be convinced of what's in there. Really believe of what's in there. Trust what's in there. And trust in what you're doing. Don't doubt yourself in there. Don't doubt yourself in your depths. Really feel the reality of what you're doing in your depths. Really believe in yourself. Trust in yourself at all times in your depths. That the surface may also adjust. So, I wanted to add that in there because I think the idea of a motor element is something we should all continue testing and experimenting with. So I just wanted to share that. Yeah, I mean, my books are out. I do one-on-ones and I do live streaming and Q&As. I just speak for a few hours on this stuff every week. If you're interested, go to the description. It's all there. And yeah, that's all I had for this one. But I hope that for me, at least, depth and surface gives a bit more clarity. And he's telling you what you should do in your depths. Try to add motor elements to your imaginal acts in your depths. Be convinced by them. Okay, thank you.